What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ARP in the morning. Appreciate you guys pulling up this morning. I hope all is well with you guys. Happy Friday to you all. Hope all is well. Hope all is well. Appreciate you guys pulling up this morning. Pretty good show, man. We got a little bit to discuss today. But before we get going, I need to take a quick break. I got to take my dog outside real fast. I think he's having some stomach issues or something. Okay, never mind. I think my wife, she got him. All right. Let's see. Who do we have in here this morning? Shout out to Lori Oddison. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What's up, Cool Ramon? How's it going this morning, brother? Appreciate you pulling up. Redefine Queen. How's it going this morning? Scott Jung. Big Job Ford. What's going on? JJ O'Hara. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, Delinda House? How's it going this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Shelby Dodd. And Donna Wilbanks. What up, Zephyr? How's it going this morning? Larry Montgomery. Northern Cali in the building. What's going on? We got Toy Mafia in the house. Appreciate you pulling up. Regina Alongi. Appreciate you pulling up. In Nashville, visiting family. All right. What's up, Wendy? How's it going this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Hope you enjoyed your birthday yesterday. What up, Marie Noose? How's it going this morning? Brian M. How's it going this morning? Pam Westcott. How's it going this morning? Hope all is well. And thank you very much, Wendy. It is a Friday. I will say this, man. These weeks, goodness gracious, these weeks fly by. These weeks fly by. Goodness gracious. What's up, Donald Lovejoy? How's it going? Colorado in the building. What's going on, man? Marcus Tillman, Maryland in the building. Where you at in Maryland, Marcus? Let me know. What's up, Teresa? How's it going this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Playboy Billy? How's it going this morning, brother? Hope all is well with you. What up, Coaster? How's it going this morning? Seabergy in the building. Shout out to you. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, Reza Mahmood? How's it going this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Daryl Rimley, Cincinnati in the building. Judy Gross. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Let me know where y'all tuning in from as well this morning. I know a lot of you guys, I kind of know where you are, but we got some new people in here. So I'm interested to hear and see, where you guys are watching the broadcast from. Shout out to Judy Gross from Tennessee. What up, Chad Winstead? Big Pun. What's going on with you, brother? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Shout out to Goose with the $2 super chat. Welcome to work. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Thank you very much. What up, Francis Finnerty? How's it going this morning? Thea Flies Eye. How's it going this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Yeah, if you haven't done so, please make sure you hit that like button for me. What's up, AK Bauer? How's it going? Chilly, Northeast Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's been chilly on this side of things too out here in Maryland. We were in the 50s all day yesterday. What's up, Reason Mahmood? Says when you hit 40 a month, feel like a week. Oh, okay, I got it. Man, I'm all off. I'm sitting there like, when you hit 40 a month, yeah. When you do hit 40, yeah, a month does feel like a week. You're absolutely right. It seems like life starts going in fast forward. What's up, Marla? How's it going? What up, Debbie Plummer? Eric Plummer, what's going on with you, man? How you doing this morning? Thank you very much for pulling up. What up, Danilo Matthews out of Puerto Rico? All right, that's what's up. We got Chad out of Canton, Ohio. Okay, all right, that's what's up. We got Vegas in the building. We got Georgia in the building. Go Dogs. Janice Wells in the house. Shout out to you. Okay, we got Marcus out of Waldorf. All right. Some of your favorite content creators are down in that area. Some of your favorite YouTubers are in that area. I'm not gonna call anybody out, but they know who I'm talking about. They down in that Charles County area. Oh yeah. What up, Billboard Builds? How's it going this morning? Massachusetts in the building. We got Wayne Easley, Lake Havasu City. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. All right. Shout out to Pam Westcott with the $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Delinda House says Washington State, where gas is only going up. Yeah, the West Coast, y'all something else out there on the West Coast, man. Everybody else's gas is starting to creep down. You guys' gas is either still up or going up. It's crazy. What's up, Annie Love? How's it going? Lake Mississippi in the building. Lori Otteson says, wait till you hit 60. Hey, Reza, wait till you hit 60 and then start talking about how fast these days, weeks, and months are going. What's going on, LJ Taylor? How's it going this morning? Safety Chuck, too. Houston in the building. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Billboard Bill said at 58, you blink and a year is gone. Yeah, I can understand it because it seems like that now. I remember back in the day, when I was young, man, school would start. You couldn't wait until the first break. Couldn't wait until, the Christmas holidays. One, because it's Christmas, but two, you get 2 weeks out of school. Couldn't wait for it. And that was the slowest, like 3 or 4 months, man. The slowest 3 or 4 months. Then once you get back in school after the holidays, man, from January to June, goodness gracious, it seemed like that took forever. Now, I'm like, man, I feel like we were just in January. You blink and half the year's gone. What's up, Hobo Rod Prospecting? How's it going this morning? I feel like I was the genie, and I Dream of Genie. You just blink and you're like, dang, we're already end of May. June's here. Sheesh. What's up, Carlene? How's it going this morning? Sunny Pembroke Pines, Florida. Okay, I'm sure it's sunny down there. What up, Red Bucks out of Levittown, PA? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Cool Ramon says $2.55 a gallon here in the South. We're not that low, but for regular gas, it's definitely under $3 for sure. We're not that low. We're not at the 255 mark, but we're not too far off from it either. And that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Not too bad at all. It is Memorial Weekend for those that are, that have family members that are veterans. Obviously, my condolences, to you all, as we, go into this weekend. I know for a lot of people, they look at this, it's Memorial Weekend. Everybody gets that Monday off. Most people get the Monday off. Most people do. My friend, he actually has to work on Monday, but he'll get the following day off. But, a lot of people just look at it as the 3-day weekend and don't really think about, what the weekend means and what the day means and what it represents. And a lot of you guys may or may not know this, but Memorial Day was actually created, to pay homage or homage to the fallen soldiers, the fallen Union soldiers, that died during the Civil War. It was actually started by the Black population in this country. I don't think a lot of you guys, you may or may not know that, but Memorial Day was actually started by Black Americans in, a celebration or, just a time to sit back and reflect on, the people who lost their lives during the Civil War, that fought for the Union. And that's kind of where this thing kicked off at. And then it's kind of expanded to, everybody that has served this nation, if you have lost your life, whether it's in combat or you just, through old age or something along those lines, but you still serve. This is a time to, continue to, just remember those people, who wore the uniform, and who served this great nation of ours. So yeah, that's what it's ultimately about. But let me know in the chat what you guys have planned for the weekend. I'd love to hear that. What you guys have going on this weekend. We got Dennis Brandon out of Utah in the building. Shout out to you. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Freeman's Network says, I need to send you some audio, but I don't have an address. If you check out the, if you look in the description box, you'll see, I have a way to get mail and stuff like that to me. But yes, mail it to me. You'll see it in the description box. It's in there. What's going on, Elijah Burnett? No worries. We just, we're just saying what's up, meeting and greeting the folks. What up, Mike C? How's it going this morning? We got Savannah, Tennessee in the building. PK Krillin, what's going on? Canton, Georgia. All right. What's up, Larry Montgomery? Larry Montgomery says 510. Where are you at, Larry Montgomery? Are you in California somewhere with the gas that daggone high? Now I know out in Hawaii, man, their gas, it's probably $5-6 right now too. Hobo Rob Prospecting said gas is $3.69, in his part of Oregon. Sheesh. Yeah, that's pretty daggone high. What's up, Leslie Aaron? How's it going this morning? What do you guys have? What do you guys have planned for the for the weekend, for the long weekend? AK Bauer, what's going on? Says Memorial Day, start a tourist season here in the Pocono Mountains. Hey, I went to Pocono Mountains last year? We had a good time up there, man. It's not that far away from us. We stayed at one of the resorts up there, man. It was really, really nice, man. Enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, Reza, that West Coast gas is crazy. Who else we got up in here this morning? We're gonna get the show started here briefly. What's up, Dion? All right. She says, "Oh wow, didn't know that." Yeah, I mean, a lot of things, man. Unfortunately, folks just don't take the time to, do their own, researching and learning of history, in this country. Mike C says he's doing some lawn care and cleaning the flower bed. And honestly, dude, that's why I live where I live at right now. Our HOA actually comes through and they do majority of the lawn work here. They cut the front and the backyard. We're only responsible for the hedges and things of that nature, but they do majority of the work, the edging and all that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So for that reason, because my weekends, man, I like to play golf and stuff like that on the weekends, and it's hard to do when you got to do what you're talking about, lawn care and cleaning flower beds and all that type of stuff. I'm just not interested in that. What's going on, ENT Shop? Memphis, Tennessee in the building. What's going on with you? All right. What up, RJ Hudson? We got Allie Summers in the house. What up, Monte Struther? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Tulsa, Oklahoma in the house. United States Air Force. Appreciate you pulling up and thank you for your service. All right. Tracy Day in the building. Oh, Larry, I thought you was in California with those gas prices. That daggone ridiculous. Billboard Bill says NASCAR and IndyCar this weekend. Okay. That's what's up. All right. And thank you, BJB. Appreciate that, man. Thank you. Voices for the voiceless. Thank you very much. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Hope all is well. All right, let's get the show started. Let's get the show started. We're going to get things kicked off, man. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Francis Ferdity says, that's great. Wise. My place only does the lawn, no trimming, no trimming, no edges, no edging. Yeah, fortunately for us here, we have that. They'll cut the front and back. They do the edging. We have the dog receptacles all around the neighborhood and stuff, so they will come through and they'll make sure they empty the dog receptacles and stuff like that, and make sure their bags and stuff is filled. So they do majority, of the work. I mean, we pay for it, but they do majority of it. I just don't have a lot of interest in yard work, although my mind has kind of changed because I like my own garden and things of that nature. So I think things have changed a little bit, but when we moved here, my thought process was like, man, the last thing I want to do is spend my weekends, doing yard work. Mike C. I have zero interest in that. Christy says, in golf, my husband will go golf and I'm going to ride along for the fresh air. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. My wife has come out with me. She's come out with me twice. I was going to say once, but she's come out with me twice and just hung out. If you're not actually doing anything, it's 4 hours. You know what I'm saying? It's 4 hours, out on the course. And if it's crazy and you're playing behind people that are that can't play, it could stretch up to it could stretch up to 4.5, 5 hours. If you're playing behind people that really can't play or they're playing from the wrong tees, whatever the case may be, spend 2 hours looking for their lost ball that they just shanked into the daggone woods. Don't get me started on those people, man. They drive me crazy. They drive me crazy. You know, Christy says she's a huge golf fan, so my critique gets on his nerves. Yeah, that would probably work me too. Yeah, but yeah, I'm going to play golf tomorrow, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it. Especially the weather's been nasty out here, so it's been raining and stuff like that, man. So you really hadn't had a chance to really be able to get outside like that because of the weather. So, but let's get the show started, man. So hit that like button if you haven't done so already. I'm not sure where we are, with the likes right now, but hit that like button if you haven't done so. Super thanks will stop the show, and super chats will stop the show as well, or super stickers more or less will stop the show. Anybody that gifts an ARP family membership, anybody that joins the ARP family membership, definitely will be acknowledged as well. Mike C says golf's too stressful. I'm too competitive. Yeah, I mean, the course challenges you definitely, but I enjoy it. And I'm super competitive, as well. So, but yeah, I definitely enjoy it. That's definitely my sport. I don't hoop anymore. Like Billy Jack said, in his 70s, he was playing ball 3 days a week. I just don't got that in me anymore, man. I don't got 3 days of basketball in me. I play 1 day of basketball. I'm hurt for 3 days. But let's get the show going, man. If you haven't hit that like button for me already, please do so.
On this vote, the yeas are 215, the nays are 214, with one answering present. The bill is passed. USA.
All right, so we got to talk about it, man. So the House passed President Trump's one big, beautiful bill in a razor-thin vote after a dramatic all-night session. This is considered a major win, a cornerstone of President Trump's second-term agenda, and it's got everybody talking. Everyone's talking about this, but not everyone's happy about it. So we got to break it down. All but 2 House Republicans supported the bill, with Republican Representatives Thomas Massie of Kentucky and Warren Davidson of Ohio opposing the bill, and House Freedom Caucus Chairman Andy Harris of Maryland voting present, meaning they didn't vote yay or nay for the bill. They just said, hey, I'm here so I don't get fined. And the Democrats, let's just say that they were unanimous in their opposition of the bill, with all 212 current Democratic representatives voting no on the bill. And this vote came after days of negotiations, a critical procedural hurdle cleared in the wee hours of the morning, and intense pressure from Trump himself. President Trump wanted this bill to pass. House Speaker Mike Johnson called it the most consequential legislation that any party has passed, certainly under a majority this thin. And he pledged to get it to Trump's desk by Independence Day, saying that we're going to celebrate a new golden age in America. Now, the bill, it addresses Trump's tax defense and energy priorities. It overcomes, several setbacks since the beginning of the year. And, it includes changes like, moving up Medicaid work requirements from 2029 to 2026, ending tax credits for new renewable energy power plants within 60 days of an enactment, except for nuclear plants, and increasing the state and local tax SALT deduction to $40,000 per household for incomes up to $500,000. So the cuts, these are some pretty serious cuts. I don't think a lot of us ever thought that, a bill like this would ever pass, that we would ever see a situation where, hey, you can work overtime. It's okay to work overtime because they're not going to destroy your check. A lot of people choose not to work overtime because when you get into that overtime, they start taking almost 50% of your money. It's like you're working for the government, essentially. There's no benefit to continue to work like that when the government is going to take a large, majority of it.
Passed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the most significant piece of legislation in years. There were a lot of good faith negotiations in the Republican conference leading up to the final passage, but as always, President Trump came in at the end to bring all sides together and get this deal done. This One Big Beautiful Bill will implement President Trump's Make America Great Again agenda by delivering the largest tax cut in American history for middle-class families, the working class, and small businesses. The One Big Beautiful Bill fulfills President Trump's promises of no tax on tips, which was applauded today by the CEO of Uber, no tax on overtime, a Made in America auto tax break, Trump savings accounts for newborn babies, and substantial tax cuts for our amazing seniors' Social Security benefits. The One Big Beautiful Bill will permanently secure the border by delivering the largest border security investment in history, funding at least 1 million annual removals of illegal aliens to carry out the largest deportation campaign ever, finishing the Trump border wall, and giving pay raises and bonuses for our incredible ICE and Border Patrol agents. The One Big Beautiful Bill protects the Medicaid program and its benefits for the most vulnerable Americans that the program was designed for by kicking off 1.4 million illegal aliens from receiving benefits and implementing common sense work requirements for able-bodied Americans. The One Big Beautiful Bill also helps get our fiscal house in order by carrying out the largest deficit reduction in nearly 30 years with $1.6 trillion in mandatory savings. Every single Democrat in the House of Representatives who voted against all of these common sense and massively popular policies. The Democrat Party has never been more radical and out of touch with the needs of the American people. The One Big Beautiful Bill is the final missing piece toward ushering the golden age of America. The Senate should pass this as quickly as possible and send it to President Trump's desk for a final signature.
All right, so no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, a Made in America auto tax break, permanent extensions of the 2017 Trump tax cuts for individuals and businesses, new tax relief for middle income earners, tipped workers, and families with children, and selective cuts to spending, particularly targeting Medicaid and other federal welfare programs. And the biggest point of contention isn't the tax cuts themselves. It's the spending cuts Republicans are proposing to pay for them. Medicaid restructuring is at the heart of the battle. Conservatives argue that Medicaid has ballooned into a massive welfare program for able-bodied, working-age adults who should be working. And according to, a 2022, AEI analysis, only 44% of able-bodied working-age Medicaid recipients without children worked at least 80 hours in a month. That's just 20 hours a week, 5 days a week. The implication is that the current system de-incentivizes work and drains resources from the truly needy. And former Trump administration officials, including those from HHS, HUD, agriculture, they recently penned an op-ed urging Congress to restore the original purpose of welfare, which was short-term assistance, not long-term dependency. Think about this, man. The original intent for welfare was short-term assistance, not long-term dependency. And unfortunately, we have entirely too many able-bodied people who are, basically using the system, and their dependents, completely just dependent upon the system with no intent, on, standing on their own 2 feet. The message is clear. Work provides dignity. The welfare state should be a trampoline, not a hammock. Seriously. The welfare state, it should be a trampoline, not a hammock. It should be a place that you jump on for a blip and you jump out. It's not a permanent resting place. But not everyone's, happy with this. You got Representative Thomas Massie being one of them, and he may have a point. his issue is the bill, it doesn't do too much to address the deficit. That's his biggest issue. His issue is the bill doesn't really address the deficit, in whole. And to an extent, I think I understand where he's coming from with that, with his sentiment.
Kentucky is recognized for 90 seconds.
Well, I'd love to stand here and tell the American people, we can cut your taxes and we can increase spending and everything's going to be just fine. But I can't do that because I'm here to deliver a dose of reality. This bill dramatically increases deficits in the near term, but promises our government will be fiscally responsible 5 years from now. Where have we heard that before? How do you bind a future Congress to these promises? This bill is a debt bomb ticking. Congress can do funny math, fantasy math, if it wants, but bond investors don't. And this week, they sent us a message. Moody's downgraded our credit rating, and the bond investors who buy our debt and finance our debt demanded higher interest rates on the 10-year note, the 20-year note, and the 30-year note. What does this mean? Very soon, the government will be paying $16,000 of interest alone per U.S. family. And what are we telling them? Instead of taking care of that problem, we're going to give you a $1,600 tax break. Under the taxing and spending levels in this bill, we're going to rack up, the authors say, $20 trillion of new debt over the next 10 years. I'm telling you, it's closer to $30 trillion of new debt in the next 10 years. Mr. Speaker, we're not rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic tonight. We're putting coal in the boiler and setting a course for the iceberg. If something is beautiful, you don't do it after midnight. I oppose this bill.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentlemen.
Yeah, so Massey has a point. He has a point. The national debt, it is a ticking time bomb, to say the least. And this bill, it doesn't do enough to diffuse it. It just doesn't. And he's right to be concerned. I think we all should be concerned, when you hear that. But here's the thing. This bill, it does need to be done because the tax cuts, the defense spending, the energy priorities, they're all a part of a vision to jumpstart the economy, secure our borders, and ensure our national security. The no tax on tips and overtime, that puts money back into American pockets, which with hopes that it will boost consumer spending and stimulate growth. The Made in America auto tax break, that brings jobs back home. It supports domestic industry and reduces our reliance on foreign supply chains. The Medicaid work requirements, they ensure that able-bodied adults contribute to society, reducing dependency and fostering self-reliance. And the energy provisions, they end the green energy, boondoggle, that whole, green energy scam that they had going on during the previous administration, and focuses on reliable sources like nuclear and lower energy cost for everyone. And Republicans, they look to make permanent the individual income and estate tax cuts that, were passed during Trump's first term back in 2017. Plus, it enacts promises that, he made during the 2024 campaign trail to not tax tips or overtime and interest on some auto loans. This right here, the plan is that they want to offset lost revenue by proposing the repeal or phasing out more quickly the clean energy tax credits passed during Joe Biden's presidency, helping to bring down the overall cost of tax portion to about $3.8 trillion. The bill includes a temporary boost in those standard deductions, a $1,000 increase for individuals, bringing it to $16,000 for individual filers, and $2,000, a $2,000 boost for joint filers, bringing it to $32,000. The deduction reduces the amount of income that is actually subject to income tax. There is also a temporary $500 increase in child tax credit, bringing it to $2,500 for 2025 through 2028. It then returns to $2,000 and will increase to account for inflation. There's also the what do you call that? The state tax exemption. It's going to rise to $15 million and is adjusted for inflation going forward as well. And one of the, I guess, thorniest issues, in negotiations had been, how much to raise, the state and local tax deduction. Now it's capped at $10,000 right now. Several of the provisions Trump promised in the campaign would be temporary, lasting roughly through his term in office. The tax breaks for tips, overtime, and car loan interest expire at the end of 2028. That's also the case for a $4,000 increase in the standard deduction for seniors. Among the various business tax provisions, small businesses, including partnerships and S corporations, will be able to subtract 23% of their qualified business income from their taxes. The deduction has been 20%. It had been 20%. So we're talking about, a 3%, increase in how much money you can subtract if you are a small business owner. That's solid for anybody that's a small business owner. When you start talking about 3%, that could be a good chunk of change, right there. Businesses, they'll temporarily be allowed to fully expense domestic research and development costs in the year that they occur, and the cost of machinery, equipment, and other qualifying assets. This encourages businesses to invest in ways that enhance their productivity. The debt is a concern, yes, but the alternative is stagnation, higher taxes, weaker defense, and energy dependence. And in my opinion, I'm sure you guys would probably agree that it's worse. And the Democrats, Democrats for their part, they're attacking the bill as a giveaway to the rich. But let's be real. The top quintile of earners already pay nearly all net federal taxes in the U.S. Any tax cut will naturally appear to benefit the rich more because they pay more. And when the whole tax the rich stick, doesn't land, well, then they go on to flat out lie about it, saying that, there'll be cuts to Medicaid. And when confronted about it, well, here's how that whole situation went down when they got confronted. I got a super chat that I want to read. Give me 1 second here. Let me pull that up. Oh man, I hate when that happens. Hold up. Give me 1 second, Mike. All right. Thanks, Mike, for the Mike C for the $5 super chat. He says, what are your thoughts on giving families who have a child before 2024 a $1,000 investment in the stock market? I like the idea. It is something that I was doing anyway for my own children. And I love the idea because I think a lot of people have not been invested in the market, and a lot of people don't have those. I believe it's a 501c, if I'm not mistaken, which is, or is it a 501 or is it the 529? I think it's the 529, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on it. I'm not a financial advisor, but a lot of people, they had those. They started those accounts, to invest in their children's, future, whether it was, for trade school or for college. Most of it is for college. And there's a lot of people, but giving people that $1,000 to kind of kick that off, hopefully they block it to where people can't just pull the money out and it is for the kid and the kid has to be 18. I think there is some ramifications around it about what you can do with the money. And I think you can match that $1,000 as well as and that money that you match can be tax deductible. That's it, Brett Montgomery. It was the 529, not the 501. You're absolutely right. I thought it was a 529, but so I don't have a problem with it. I think that's a good thing. It gets people in the market. which unfortunately we have a lot of people that are not in the market. And what we do know is that you can't really save your way to wealth. You have to invest your way to wealth. And I like the idea. I think it's a noble idea. And I mean, it's the first time that we've had somebody say, "Hey, let's invest in the children, and let's put the children in a position to where they can be straight. They'll have something coming out of high school. If you guys are like myself, and I'm sure so many of us, we graduate high school and we're fending for ourselves, and we're trying to figure out, how to get it, for ourselves. So for children to be able to graduate high school and maybe they'll have, 4,000 or 5,000, and if they got good parents, maybe it's upwards of $10,000 to get their life as a life starter, whether it pays for college or helps to buy a car or, just gives them some money to help them start a business. Maybe, here goes some startup capital to, get your business started up and get your help get your business off the ground. I love the idea. It's something that I didn't have, coming up, as a young person. I'm sure a lot of you guys didn't have that either. But I think it's a good idea. I like it.
Hey, Hakeem, why are you lying about the cuts to Medicaid? Saying that there are cuts to Medicaid when there clearly aren't. It seems. Do you want illegals to have taxpayer-funded health care? Is that what you want? You want illegals? You want U.S. taxpayers to fund health care for illegals?
I'm glad that dude is being called out. I'm glad he's being called out. He needs to be. That dude lies a lot, man. Timu Barack Obama lies a lot, and I'm glad that he's being called out, for, funding Medicaid for illegals. I'm glad. But don't hold your breath, for a lick of truth to come out from these guys, man. Don't. Jeffries and his allies, man, they're scared to death. They're scared because this bill, it could actually work. They're scared because it could resonate with voters. Not could. It is resonating with voters. They're scared because it could lead to a Republican landslide in the midterm. So they lie. They call it a scam. They call it regressive. They call it reprehensible. But the truth is, they're the ones who've been reckless. They've been reckless with their spending, their policies, and their priorities. They're the ones who funded Medicaid for illegals. They funded Medicaid for people that shouldn't be in our country, man. These are the people who pushed that green energy bill that doesn't work, who raised taxes on the middle class. And now when Republicans pass a bill that actually helps Americans, the Democrat Party is outraged. These Democrats and their allies in the media, they've spent years pushing for big government, for expansive social programs, for wealth redistribution. But when Republicans pass a bill that cuts taxes, boosts defense, and prioritizes energy independence, suddenly that's the problem. So what's the takeaway here? What's the takeaway here? The House passing Trump's one big, beautiful bill is a major win, a step forward, a step towards realizing his agenda. But it's also a reminder of the divide in the country. The media will spin it, the Democrats will deny it, but the truth is this. This bill is about putting America first. It's about cutting taxes, boosting defense, and ensuring energy independence. And the outrage, it's not about policy. Honestly, it's about politics. That's what this is about. Now, the battle, it does shift to the Senate. The bill needs 51 votes to pass. Given the Republican majority of 53 seats, it should happen. But, hey, we know we got some rhinos, so it's not a 100% lock. Senate Majority Leader John Thune has said the Senate will have its imprint on it, and some Republicans have already voiced opposition. So we'll see what happens. But for now, at least I'm happy to see that the congressional Republicans actually are getting things done. I'm definitely appreciative of that. We got a super chat I want to read. Shout out to my guy Jeff over at It's Not Your Fault. Al-Anon Recovery Channel says Trump just signed a massive deal with Angel Reese using all the bricks she leaves on the court to help build the wall. Winning. Jeff, you are a nut, yo. You are terrible. You are terrible. Why you do this to me? Oh my gosh, dude. Oh my goodness. See, I can't mess with you, Jeff. You are ridiculous. Golly, man. See, that's not that is not right, man. That is not right. Golly, dude. Oh man, see, he's trying to throw me off. You threw me off. You got me. Okay. I'm thinking you coming with something serious. Oh my goodness, man. I needed the break. Hey, we need a little bit of comedy from time to time. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Oh man. Oh my goodness. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. All right, let's move on to the next story. We needed this was good. This was good. I needed that little laugh break. I needed that. Goodness gracious. Jeff, I'm gonna kick your tail the next time I see you, man. Goodness gracious, dude. Goodness gracious. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, Dr. Silla, this is a what do you call it? This was a shaker cup. I lost the top and I lost the little shaker thing down here, but it's a 20-ounce cup. So this makes sure I know if I get 5 of these, I get 100 ounces of water. And I know I'm getting my water in for the day. I know that. So, you know, it gives me the way to an ability to make sure I'm getting my water in for the day. Lori Oddison said Jeff made her spit her coffee out. I know Jeff's a nut, man. Jeff is a nut. Goodness gracious, dude. Starseed EB, shout out to you, Such. She says, please pray for her daughter. Y'all make sure y'all put some prayers up for Starseed EB. Y'all make sure y'all send prayers up for her and her daughter and their family. Make sure y'all do that. But let's move on to the next story. I don't know if you guys had a chance to hear about this, but there was a horrific shooting that took place outside of the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C., where 2 Israeli embassy staffers were gunned down in what authorities are calling a targeted act of terror. This was a young couple. They were on the verge of getting engaged and had their lives stolen in a senseless attack. The suspect, Elias, hopefully I'm pronouncing this properly, Elias Rodriguez, a 31-year-old from Chicago, is now facing serious charges to include homicide of a foreign official, with probably, there's probably going to be some more charges to come. So let's break this down. This is a sad story, and thank you, Jeff. I needed to laugh. Going into this is obviously not a laughing matter, here, but let's look at the facts and let's talk about, what this means for our country. But first, here's the suspect right after he gunned down, 2 Israeli embassy employees. I want you guys to see this for yourselves.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
I'm glad they caught him. Shout out to Starseed EB with the $10 super chat. Says, thank you, Jesus. Yes, Lord. Thank you for supporting the channel. All right, so this tragedy, I'm not sure if you guys, are familiar or had heard about it. Shout out to Wendy with the $5 super chat. She says, Jeff made me laugh hard. I must drop some cheese. Thank you very much. Yeah, Jeff's a nut. I'm gonna kick his tail next time I see him. Yeah, but this is this situation. I don't know if you guys had heard about this. I don't know if it made national news or not. But the tragedy, it happened Wednesday night, right after Yaron and Sarah left an event at the museum hosted by the American Jewish Committee. It was a gathering meant to bring people together, focused on fostering unity, and celebrating Jewish heritage. But as they stepped outside, Rodriguez allegedly opened fire, shooting 21 times with a 9mm handgun that he legally purchased in Illinois back in 2020. Surveillance videos reportedly shows him firing even after the victims fell to the ground. And, after the shooting, Rodriguez walked into the museum where event security detained him. And here's where it gets chilling. He pulled out a red headdress thing, a symbol often tied to Palestinian activism, and started chanting, "Free, free Palestine," while telling the police that he did it for Palestine. He did it for Gaza. He even pointed out, where he ditched a gun, which police recovered. So this was a coordinated attack. This was a planned attack. I would assume that this dude's going to be charged with a hate crime. And I would also assume that this dude's going to be charged with a first degree, a first degree homicide. I would assume that is the case here. But the victims, Yaron Lishinsky, who was 30, was an Israeli researcher, at the embassy, focusing on Middle East and North Africa, and an advocate for, interfaith dialogue. And Sarah Milgram, she was 26, was an American from Kansas who organized trips to Israel and worked with groups promoting dialogue between Israelis, and Palestinians. So let's talk about the suspect real fast. We'll call him Mr. Rodriguez, at this point. This guy, he wasn't on law enforcement's radar. He has no prior criminal record, nothing to suggest that he'd do something this heinous. He flew in from Chicago to DC on May 20th, declaring a firearm in his check bag, and bought a ticket to the museum event just hours before the attack. Court documents reveal that he told police he admired the guy who set himself, on fire outside of the Israeli embassy in 2024, calling him a martyr. Social media posts, tied Rodriguez, it shows a history of pro-Palestinian activism, including a 2017 protest with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. And though the group says he hasn't been involved with them since, on X, he posted hours before the shooting condemning Israel and the U.S. for what he called atrocities in Gaza. And this wasn't just some random act of violence. This was ideological. This was an act of terrorism, and the shooter had a long history of radical activism. He supported BLM. He supported anti-white rhetoric. He supported pro-communist causes and radical Palestinian groups. And it's not the first time that we've seen this pattern. It's not. Remember when the CEO of United Healthcare, when he was assassinated in a similar, politically motivated act, or when far left extremists set fire to cities during the BLM riots, or when someone, tried to assassinate Justice Brett Kavanaugh over, pregnancy termination. I mean, we've seen this playbook before. Radical leftists get hyped up, media narratives fuel the fire, and eventually someone crosses the line. And this is what happens when we allow ideological extremism to go unchecked on the left. When anti-Israel rhetoric becomes mainstream, when universities and political leaders normalize chants like, death to Israel and in Antifa revolution, it doesn't just stay on campus, it spills into the streets. It spills into the communities. And of course, you have some wicked people on the left celebrating this guy. There was a lady, let's not call her a lady because I don't think a lady would do this. But, there's a woman on TikTok who celebrated this, saying that, she'd make sure that she will take care of the suspect while he's in jail. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, man. I mean, these are some pretty wicked, some wicked individuals out here, man. They really are. Yeah. So as you can see here, you have this young lady who, probably just cost herself a job or two. Let's pull her back up. I'm sure she's lost herself a job of 2 or 3. She'll call it racism or something like that, when no one wants to employ her. Y'all know that's what she'll do. She'll say, it's racism and, they're misogynists because they, don't want to employ me. They just, no, ma'am, we just don't want to work with people who showcase themselves as evil on social media. We just don't want to do that. In the media, to be honest with you, they're more concerned with how the pro-Hamas protesters, will look after this. That's their biggest concern. They're not concerned about the couple, who was killed. They're concerned with, how the remainder of Hamas protesters are going to look, after this situation here, as if they look great to begin with. But I'm just convinced that, the left, man, I mean, their agenda, their movement, their policies, everything that they believe in and they implement, man, is just, it's immoral and demonic, to say the least. I'm just convinced that these are some sick and wicked individuals on that side of things.
Go forward, as you go forward with what you have seen, can you give us any sense, because you said you looked the shooter in the eyes, can you give us any sense of what you saw in him as he was sort of getting help and people were tending to him as if he too was a victim of seeing this?
Yeah, well, to be clear, I heard about that part because we were in the secure room when he initially walked in. I just saw him screaming and then being handcuffed. But what I saw in his eyes, I mean, I went to Columbia for grad school, and I saw the same thing in his eyes as I saw in the eyes of all the protesters at Columbia. Nothing different between him and them.
But they did not create this horrific shooting. They did not, sort of. They didn't shoot.
They gave permission. They gave the permission. And they've called for this. They have called for Intifada revolution, which is the same thing he yelled last night.
Do you worry that there will be a conflation, though, of the two, those people who are speaking their mind, who really care about what is happening in Gaza, and those people who are like this person who did this horrific shooting, who intend to do harm?
A conflation. I mean, they are calling for Intifada. At Columbia University, they call for Intifada constantly. They're not quietly, they're loud. They're loud. You can hear it. They make recordings of themselves. So what's the difference?
Are you afraid?
Yes.
What will
We're
you do
all
about
afraid.
that?
Everyone should be afraid.
What are you doing to try to make yourself feel safer?
Well, okay, just go on and live your life. I'm a New Yorker. I remember 9/11. You can't let them make you be afraid. You have to go on. You have to live your life, and hopefully your government does things to protect you. Last night, our government failed us.
Jonathan Epstein, I know that they are going forward with this. There is expected to be charges in this case. We will see what happens, but I know you'll be watching, and we'll talk to you again as this goes forward. Thank you so much, and I'm sorry that you had to witness what you did. Kate?
It's unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. How is your main concern with how is your main concern with is with optics? How is that your main concern as the how this is going to play out or look, in front of people? I just don't get it when you had two young people who are dead. Two young people were killed by this individual, and their concern is optics. And it doesn't end there. This isn't where it ends. This CNN's, oh my goodness, man. It doesn't end there. There was a CNN contributor who actually went on to suggest that the Trump administration is to blame for the horrific shooting of two Israeli embassy staffers in Washington, D.C., because too many resources are being diverted to immigration enforcement, taking away from counterterrorism. Take a look at what this lady had to say. These are some wicked individuals, man.
Ask you about what this means to Jewish institutions around the United States and the world, and what you think should and could happen as far as the security apparatus that will likely be changed around them.
So two pieces. First of all, the Jewish community, particularly in the United States, is very aware of the threat that they face. And so both at a national level, there are organizations that are dedicated to helping organizations have security, and at regional and local levels, there are institutions that are in place to help them. At the federal level, though, one of my main concerns in the current administration is the fact that so many resources are being diverted to immigration enforcement. And that is a priority of this administration, and that's their prerogative. But at the same time, if they are drawing down resources from counterterrorism components, both within the FBI and the Justice Department, then that potential can have more of an effect. And I think I'll be interested to know whether this individual was on any radar of investigators, considering the fact that he traveled from one location to another to commit this act.
Yeah, those are really good points. Thank you so much.
You know what I find funny? So now Palestine protesters are terrorists. Just yesterday, you were condemning the Trump administration for wanting to designate them, with terrorist status. Just imagine, man, an analyst actually went on national television to speculate, or they speculated that maybe this kind of attack happened because we're focusing too much on illegal immigration, not on leftist extremism, not on the rising anti-Semitism that's happening in our country right now, but on immigration enforcement. I mean, that's the spin that they want to go with. I mean, these people are ridiculous. This is why trusted mainstream media is in the gutter right now. Actually, what's lower than the gutter? Seriously, what's lower than the gutter? That's where mainstream media, the trust is right now. They're more interested in protecting a narrative than actually telling the truth. And when the narrative doesn't fit, when the person who commits an atrocity, isn't wearing a MAGA hat, they go silent or find a way to blame, Trump anyway. I mean, it's about a pattern we've been seeing for years, especially from the Democrats and from the radical left. They've been fanning these flames, and now we're seeing the consequences. Two innocent people are dead, and instead of condemnation, we've got folks on the left either celebrating this or playing the sympathy card for the cause. Look, this is insanity, man. Let's break this down and connect the dots real fast, because this didn't happen in a vacuum. For years, the Democrat Party has been cozying up to the most extreme elements of the anti-Israel movement. Think about it. Back in 2019, you had Congressman Ilhan Omar tweeting that support for Israel was all about the Benjamins. That's what she said. She said it was all about the Benjamins, baby. When she was asked about this senseless killing, take a look at her response. This is a sitting Congresswoman.
Omar, can I get your reaction to the shooting that happened in D.C. last night?
I'm gonna go for now. I'm going to go for now, Mark. Couldn't even say condolences for the family.
Congresswoman Omar,
Anybody safe?
can I get your reaction to the shooting that happened in D.C. last night?
I'm going to go for now.
And then you've got Rashida Tlaib, who's been openly anti-Israel since day one, of her taking office, refusing to condemn Hamas outright, and even accusing Israel, of genocide when the war broke down. And let's not forget that during the height of the campus protests, you had Democrat leaders like AOC and Bernie Sanders amplifying the narrative that Israel is an apartheid state and calling for a ceasefire without holding Hamas accountable for the October 7th, 2023 attacks. Sanders even went as far as to say that the U.S. should stop all military aid to Israel, which, okay, we can have a discussion about that, but ignoring the fact that Hamas uses civilians as human shields and has a charter calling for the destruction of Israel is not a reason to call for the ending of all aid to Israel. I mean, it's just pandering to your radical base at this point. And then there's the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which passed in the House, in May of last year, but faced fierce opposition from Democrats. 70 Democrats voted against it, including the so-called squad, Omar, Tlaib, Cori Bush, there's others. And their excuse was that it claimed it would stifle free speech. But let's be real. They didn't want to alienate their pro-Palestinian supporters. I mean, the bill, was about adopting the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which includes denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination and comparing Israeli policy to that of the Nazis. And by opposing it, they're essentially saying it's okay to spread anti-Semitic rhetoric as long as it's cloaked in criticism of Israel. And fast forward to early 2025, you've got the Democrat-led response to the rising tide of anti-Semitism being, well, it's non-existent. I mean, this shooting in D.C., it isn't just a tragedy, it's a wake-up call. This Rodriguez fella, he didn't wake up one day and decide, to unalive two people. He didn't do that. He was radicalized by a movement that's been given a green light by the left. And President Trump, he's been clear on it. He's called out the hatred, saying that on Truth Social, that hatred and radicalism has no place in America. And he's called it out. And, I'm glad to see, that he is calling it out. But unfortunately, you have people that don't care. But Trump, he's right here. And the Democrats, they're too busy pandering to their base to actually take a stand, against these heinous acts. I mean, they've spent years calling for, intifada, whether directly or through their silence. And now we're seeing what that looks like in real life. 2 young people are dead, a community in fear, and a nation on edge. And guys, this is where we're at, man. The left's obsession with social justice has morphed into something dangerous, where violence is excused if it's for the right cause. Hatred of any kind should have no place in this great nation of ours. And I hope our friends on the left realize that before it's too late. Because this isn't just about hatred for Jews. It's about an entire culture of left-wing radicalism that justifies political violence in the name of justice. It doesn't matter whether the cause is Gaza, healthcare, abortion, or policing. There is a growing movement on the left that believes that violence is justified if they feel oppressed. And that there is a problem. They've been told that the system is evil, that capitalism is violence, that, the police, are some of the worst people, in the country. And anyone who stands in their way, they're fair game. So when someone acts on these beliefs, they themselves think that they're being righteous. But the worst part is that the left enables it. Whether it's, deifying the United Healthcare CEO's assassinator because, he was fighting for injustice, or, just staying silent when violence happens. It's all the same message. If your cause is left wing enough, violence is understandable. It's acceptable. And my heart, man, it breaks, for the families, of these victims. I mean, these were real people. They had dreams, they with love stories, with futures. These are two young adults, 30 and 26, shuffled out because of blind hatred dressed up as political conviction. This wasn't about Gaza. This wasn't about injustice. This was a homicide. This was a heinous act. This was a hate crime. And if we don't get serious about calling out the ideology behind it, no matter how uncomfortable it makes the left, we're going to have more funerals, more excuses, and more innocent lives lost. And who's next? Anybody wearing a MAGA hat? Are you fair game? Hey, if you're black and not a part of the Democrat Party, are you fair game? Anybody that doesn't just jump on board with anything, whatever the next radical, idea that these people have, are you fair game? Seriously. And speaking of calling things out, it's not much, but it is a start. And, like I said, it's not much, but it is a start.
Breaking news now. The Trump administration has just revoked university's ability to enroll any international students. The existing international students there have to transfer out, and no new ones can be accepted in.
This marks a sharp escalation in the ongoing battle between the White House and the nation's oldest university. CNN's Jeff Zeleny is at the White House. Jeff, tell us what's happening here.
Well, Brianna and Boris, there has been an ongoing fight between the White House and Harvard University over the curriculum, over the federal funding, and now over international students. As you said, this is a dramatic escalation. We are learning this announcement from the Department of Homeland Security. Secretary Kristi Noem making the announcement this afternoon, essentially giving a warning to Harvard that they are no longer allowed to admit international students. So she writes this in part: they have lost their student and exchange visitor program certification as a result of their failure to adhere to the law, she says. Let this serve as a warning to all universities and academic institutions across the country. So let's break that down a touch. She's accusing them, Harvard University, of failing to adhere to the law. Of course, there were some rules essentially that were put out as a strings, if you will, on federal funding for what type of a curriculum universities could use, what type of DEI programs they couldn't have. Of course, this all stems from protests on college campuses. Harvard University is pushing back very hard at this. Just a statement coming out just a few moments ago. Harvard is saying that they will challenge this legally as well. And they go on to say this: the government's action is unlawful, Harvard says. We are fully committed to maintaining Harvard's ability to host international students and scholars who hail from more than 140 countries and enrich the university and this nation immeasurably. So how many students are we talking about here? Well, in this academic year alone, almost 30% of Harvard's student body were made up of international students, some 6,793, according to this year's academic record. So the government is saying that these students must transfer. We are told that they are likely to be able to transfer to another U.S. institution, not necessarily return to their home countries. But of course, this will be one of the many actions of this administration that will be challenged legally. But certainly, once again, a dramatic escalation from the U.S. government against Harvard.
All right, so and Mike, see, I do agree with you to an extent. That this is it's touchy, when you go this route. But I do appreciate the fact that Trump is taking decisive action against one of the breeding grounds for this type of ideology, which is Harvard University. Seriously, I don't know what's going on in the Northeast right now, because obviously, NYU, and we got a chance to see Columbia and some of these other places out here that's just really radical, man. The Trump administration, they revoke Harvard's ability to enroll international students. And that's a move it's sending shockwaves, through the academic world. But, in my opinion, it's absolutely necessary because Harvard has become a hotbed for anti-American pro-terrorist agitators who've been assaulting Jewish students and coordinating with hostile foreign powers like the Chinese Communist Party. There was a person, that was a part of the CCP that was just locked up that was, quote unquote, doing research on Harvard's campus. This happened not too long ago. The Department of Homeland Security, led by Secretary Kristi Noem, announced that Harvard can no longer enroll foreign students, and existing foreign students, they must transfer or lose their legal status. Harvard enrolls almost 6,000 foreign students, many of whom, have been part of the pro-Palestinian protests that have turned violent, harassing Jewish students and disrupting campus life. The administration also pointed out that Harvard has been training members of the Chinese paramilitary group, the Xinjiang Production and Construction Corps, as recently as 2024. This is real. There was a report that came out on this. It means that, that people who hate America, who support terrorism, and who threaten the safety of our citizens don't have a right to a visa. They don't. Visas are a privilege. It's not a right. It's not a right. You're not guaranteed. It's a privilege to come here and study in the United States. But if you're going to abuse that privilege by promoting hatred and violence, then you don't belong here. Go back home. And the left, of course, they're calling it, textbook, authoritarianism, of course. I'm sure they're throwing out, the racism term and so forth and so on. You got free speech groups, out here decrying it as a surveillance state. But let's be real. This is about accountability. You want to promote these radicals, these radical movements, fine, go ahead. But it's time that we stop subsidizing institutions that work against American interests. And this Rodriguez character, he was radicalized by the same ideology that's been allowed to fester on campuses like Harvard and so many others across the country. These institutions have become echo chambers for anti-Israel, anti-American sentiment. And it's time that we say enough is enough. You want to turn your kid, into a commie? You want to turn your kid, into someone that actually hates America? Send them to a college campus. Seriously. Send them to a college campus and watch them come back extremely radicalized. The left, they just want to talk about social justice, but what about a justice for Uran and Sarah? What about justice for, other Jewish students who are afraid to walk across campus? What about justice for, American values? I watched a video the other day, there was a young man with a MAGA hat and a lady attacked him. Seriously. Young man minding his own business, attacked by, some crazy lunatic of a woman. Far left extremism, it's real. It's violent and it's growing, and it's time that we say it out loud and do something about it. I was talking to one of the guys in the gym, the other day, and he was like, and he's a younger guy, and I know he watches, he doesn't really watch the news like that, but when he does, he's watching mainstream media. And he said that, oh man, the MAGA crowd's crazy. MAGA crowd's crazy. They'll get you. And I was like, dude, it's the furthest thing from the truth. I was like, to be honest with you, it's the other side. I was like, there's plenty of videos of rallies, MAGA rallies, things of that nature, where, somebody will walk through, with a Biden shirt on or a Democrat shirt on, and nobody will say anything to them. If anything, it's all love. But let you walk through, a Democrat rally of some sort with a MAGA hat on. Or let it be known, let these people find out that you're a Republican. And you will probably get jumped. Seriously. You will probably get jumped. Yeah. I mean, I had to explain that to him. I was like, bro, it's the furthest thing from the truth, man. Furthest thing from the truth, but a lot of times, hey, if you only get your information from legacy media, you will believe, even though you've never seen it with your own eyes, they will have you believe that the MAGA crowd is crazy. And they'll get you. and they'll string you up. I mean, it's crazy. It is crazy. Those are some wicked people. I want to share this with you guys. This is more in line with what we were talking about yesterday, but I didn't see it until late last night, and I wanted to share this with you guys because this just shows you how corrupt that legacy media is, man. These people, they all get the same talking points from whoever. I'm assuming the DNC overlords, man, and they just run with it. I want you guys to see this right here, man. I don't know if you guys saw it yesterday anywhere, but this was great.
To the dramatic scene in the Oval Office today, the tense confrontation, President Trump ambushing the president of South Africa.
Up next, another Oval Office meltdown, President Trump ambushing the president of South Africa.
President Trump is being accused of conducting something of a diplomatic ambush of South Africa's president in the Oval Office.
To be with you, I'm Katie Tur. President Trump orchestrated another Oval Office ambush today.
Today, Donald Trump meeting with the president of South Africa and attempting to ambush and humiliate that leader.
Zelensky territory, where essentially he was a bit ambushed inside the Oval Office.
Felt like an ambush in there, kind of like the President Zelensky meeting in the Oval Office.
This was an ambush. It was orchestrated.
Cyril Ramaphosa brought his best diplomatic self to this meeting, but nothing could have prepared him for this multimedia ambush.
What started as, to some degree, an ambush.
Well, Katie, I mean, it was an ambush.
Ambush.
Ambushed. Ambush.
An ambush.
Ambushing.
Ambushed inside the Oval Office.
Isn't that crazy? They all got the same talking points. Same talking points. That's creepy as all get out, man. Shout out to Western Lensman for putting that together. That was dope. But I saw that yesterday. I was like, man, I wish I'd have had that yesterday before I started my show. That would have been awesome. That's creepy as all get out, man. And RJ, you're absolutely right. They all fall in line. But the thing is that that's what you have to do. If you are going to be a part of the Democrat Party, you got to fall in line with everything. You have to get on board. You can't pick and choose what you like. There's no dissension, none of that. You got to get on board with everything that these people believe in. You can't say I like 90%, but this other 10% I'm not with. You can't do that. You can't do that. Not with the Democrat Party. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to think for yourself. You are not allowed, to have any critical thinking. Well, you can have it, but you better not voice it, and you better not utilize your critical thinking skills. You better not. It's crazy. Yeah, they don't have a choice but to obey. Because if you don't obey, hey, you're kicked out the party. They'll ostracize you. You are an enemy. If you don't get on board with everything that they say, everything, you are an enemy. You got to get on board with everything. Yeah, it's a trip, man. Yeah, man. The indoctrinated side, And that's why, when you think about college campuses right now, I don't know how many of you guys, have family members that, are in college right now, or if you've gone to, any college graduations this year. But college now, it's not a safe place if you are a heterosexual male. If you are, it's not a safe place for you if you would call yourself a follower of Christ, if you believe that the Bible is true, it's the true and living word of God, these are not safe places for you, you know, if you're sending your children to those places. But if you go to any college graduation right now, you'll probably notice that, you know, the people that are graduating from these institutions are, you know, it's probably 80% women, maybe closer to 90% women. If you hear the degrees that these people, you know, are obtaining, you know, they're going, you know, $150,000 to $200,000 in debt for degrees that don't make any sense. And they're probably never going to make the money needed to pay back those loans. These are people that are going to be in debt for the remainder of their lives. And, you know, it's just crazy. And then on the flip side of that, they have the nerve to say that we're doing better than men because men, young men especially, are deciding, this college thing ain't for me. Or they're going to college, but they're going the 2-year thing and they're, you know, gaining whatever skills that can be gained at the 2-year institution. You know, and then they're getting some certifications and they're moving on from there. You're seeing that as well, a whole lot more. It's crazy. It is crazy. Let's open it up today. I wasn't going to, but since it is Friday, it is. We got a long weekend ahead of us. I haven't made my mind up if I'm going to, you know, do a show on Monday morning or not, or if I'm going to celebrate and observe. If I'm going to observe the holiday and take the day off, I'm not 100% sure yet. But I'll know, and if I do, I'll put it out there and let it be known. Mike C, yes, be concerned, be very concerned. You know, Mike C says, you know, he's worried about it, what college, you know, his daughter will choose. Well, I wouldn't even concern yourself with the college. Let's talk about the major. You know what I'm saying? I think everybody thinks that you're supposed to just immediately, oh, you go to college after high school. You go to college after high school, and I don't know if that's the right thing. Just due to the fact, and the reason why I say this is I don't think that, first off, I don't think that everybody is a college, you know, a college-bound individual, you know, even though they've made it really easy for anybody to go to college. I think, you know, it's easier to go to college today than it is to join the military, believe it or not. But I'm big on majors. You know, schools don't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. The major is the most important thing. Is it a major that is going to be in demand? And you can't just think about, is it in demand today? Because if you start today, you got 4 years before you're out. Is the skill set that you're going to achieve, is it in demand in the next 10 years? I think that's important. You know, I think that's important. And Pint and Cone 13, you're absolutely right. Most kids, they don't qualify for college math. They're taking the what do you call it? The intermediate math or whatever, that class that you got to take before, and you got to pass before they will allow you to take college algebra. You have a lot of people that are going that route. But I think you have more young men that are deciding to go to trade school, or they're going to the local community college. They're doing 2 years there because a lot of times, you know, with an associate's, it's enough for you to, you know, it's enough for you to get a good job. Mike C says she's into journalism and poli sci. Oh, she's destined to be a leftist. Oh my gosh, you know, journalism and political science. Oh my gosh. She's destined to be a leftist. I'm just saying. My one of my really, really good friends, his son went to you know, I'm not gonna call the school that he went out to, but he did go to a pretty good school. Majored in political science, was not raised the way that he talks today, but poli sci and most of the professors in there, you can almost count that all of them are going to be leftists. Almost all of them. You know, he ended up getting with this young lady. They're engaged now, so I'm not going to talk bad about her, but they're engaged. She's never been around. She's never lived in the hood. Don't know anything about the hood. Don't know anything about poor people. Definitely don't know anything about poor black people. Now, mind you, this is a young white lady, young white liberal, and she doesn't even think that she's being racist when she says things like they don't know. They just don't do anything, about IDs, and they don't know, like, she's regurgitated some of these things that have been said in the sense of like, hey, if you're poor and black, you don't know how to get a driver's license. If you're poor and black and live in one of these neighborhoods, you don't know how, to obtain an ID, so forth and so on. They don't know how to get a bank accounts. They don't know how to, and some of that may be true from a bank account standpoint, because I still know some folks that don't have bank accounts, but it's crazy. Mike C said no. Hey, I'm just telling you, political science, you're almost destined to be a leftist. You're almost destined to be a liberal when you start talking about poli-sci. That is the truth. Now if you send her to, maybe one of the, maybe one of the more, faith-based colleges, which would be considered, maybe a Christian-based school, you may be able to save her from that. But if she goes to just a regular state school, Mike C, I'm not sure, I can't remember which state you're in, but the regular state schools, oh man. You go in there, poli-sci, you got to think, journalists, 90% of journalists are active. Think about this, 90% of your trained journalists, meaning that they went to school to be journalists, 90% of them are liberal. Most of the professors at these colleges that are going to teach, they're going to be liberals, and they're going to speak and teach with a liberal bias. That is a fact. And that's why you have, so many of these people that come out and they're liberal. If you think about it, most of your journalists that's on the independent side of things that are not, quote unquote, I went to college journalists, just, maybe they took some classes and they've, taken some online classes to learn how to, do this. Most of those people, are going to be more on the conservative side of things because they haven't been indoctrinated, on these campuses. I know certain schools that when you get there during freshman orientation, there is a class on the pronouns. Part of the freshman orientation is a class on pronouns. The she, them, the she, hers, they, them, zers, and all this other type of foolishness. Yeah, they get you from the day you start in freshman orientation. You got to be sit down and you got to be taught. You got to sit down and be taught these pronouns, and you got to respect it. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that, Mike. I'm glad to hear she goes to Christian school. Hopefully, you'll just send her to a Christian college. You know what I'm saying? And not one of these super woke Christian colleges, because we know that those are out there as well. You got those out there. But yeah, find a good conservative Christian college out there if there is any. I'm not sure if there's any solid Christian colleges out that way. And honestly, I'm one of those kind of people. Like, honestly, if I had a daughter, I'm not sending my daughter away to college. Whatever school is local, you're going to the 2-year locally. You're going to the 2-year locally, so I can keep my eyes on you for 2 years. You, my daughter, you're my responsibility. I am your protector and provider until we find you a husband. No, I'm not sending my daughter off to some college so she can join some sorority and get ran through. No. No, it's not happening. Peer pressure is something else. So I'm more along the lines of go the 2-year route. Let's stay home. You're going to go to the local community college. You're going to do your 2 years there. It's going to be cheaper, especially if I got to pay for it. That's what's going on with my youngest son right now. He stays home. He works. Still lives at the house. He works. He goes to the local community college right here where we at. Quincy, yeah, or the Navy. Now, my oldest son, he went that route. My oldest son, he graduated high school, joined the Navy. My youngest son, he didn't want to go that route. He stayed home. He goes to the local community college that's right down the way. He works, stacked his bread up. We helped him get a car. And he works and goes to school. He likes to play basketball a lot. But there is absolutely no way that I would send my kid off to a 4-year college at 18 years old. No, not my daughter. I don't even think that it makes sense for young people in general, because a lot of times they go to these places, and that's why it takes 5 and 6 years for these people to graduate, because the first year, in some cases 2 years, they go in there playing and they're not handling business. So you're gonna pay the most for a freshman education, and they're not gonna handle business the way they're supposed to, you know. So show me that you're about it for real. Let's go to the local community college. I don't know what it is in Michigan, but a lot of places, I know if you're in Tennessee and you graduate from a Tennessee school, you can go to the 2-year schools, the community colleges, for free. Here in Maryland, it's heavily subsidized. You know, here, if you graduate from a Maryland school, in whatever county you live in, you can go to that school for it's not free, but it's very, very affordable in comparison to, going to one of the state schools or one of the bigger schools where you're going to pay top dollar for the same exact thing. So I couldn't do it. And what I've heard that happens on these college campuses, and as somebody who did go to college, but I went to college after I joined the military, so it was a lot different for me when I went. But when I was in the military, we spent and hung out a lot at college campuses because, we were military dudes with a little bit of money and we like to flex. So we would hang out at college campuses all the time looking for college, little college chicks. You know what I'm saying? Now we were college age at the time, but that's what we did. But I would definitely be extremely protective, of my daughters. If I had daughters. I don't have daughters. I have 2 boys, or 2 young men, actually. But I'd be very, very protective. I like the military schools. I like the academies, whether it's Air Force. We have Navy not too far away from where I live at here. You got West Point, up the way up in New York. But Quincy said those were the days. Anybody that was in the military, if you know anything about it, especially a lot of your Navy bases, they're going to be near college campuses. And I think most military bases are fairly near college campuses. So, when you're a young military dude, and you go to these college campuses where most people damn got no money, and we're doing quite well for ourselves. A lot of us, maybe we tend to overextend. We tend to do a little too much. Lord knows I did. When I was in the military, I spent so much daggone money, it was ridiculous. I had 3 cars. It's just me. I had 3 cars at one point. Stupid. But I could flex. I was about the flex life back in that day. Let me put the call-in link in here. But yeah, back in that time frame, man, it was all about the flex life. Yeah, I know that's ridiculous, Dion. I know. Yeah, ridiculous. I was doing too much. I promise you, I was doing too much. I was doing entirely too much during that time frame. Flexing for no reason. When I look back at it, I'm like, man, I spent so much daggone money, man. Spent too much money. Partying and, doing stuff, just trying to flex. But that's what military dudes do. We now, I think the kids, like my oldest son, who is currently in the Navy right now, he's not like that. He's not like that. He's not one to want to be out, partying. I know him and his buddies, his thing of a good time for him is, him and his buddy, they might go to what is that, TGI Fridays, and hang out at the bar and get some ribs and some wings or something. You know what I'm saying? That's like a good time for them. The kids, they're a little different, but I also kind of, explained to him before he left home to, hey, these are the things that I did. Don't do what I did. Save some money, go about this route, stack some money, and go about things a little differently. So I tried to advise him as much as I could on doing the opposite of what I did, because I joined the military and I had a good time. You know, I served 2 deployments. I had a good time, but man, we spent so much money. And when I look back at it, I wish I would have saved. If I could have took that money and if I would have just invested, you know, and I had some money at $1,000, you know, a couple $1,000s into, you know, Microsoft in the early 2000s, or, you know, in the VOO, S&P 500 or something like that, back in the early 2000s, man. Woo! I look back at it, it's just like, goodness gracious. And thank you, Mike C. I appreciate that, man. And thank everybody, you know, for their service. Let me pull up my guy, Playboy Billy. What up, Playboy Billy? How you doing this morning? How you doing this morning?
Doing great, brother. How are you?
I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed as always. Looking forward to the weekend. And, you know, obviously it's a long weekend. So I still hadn't made my mind up if I'm going to do the show on Monday or not. I may, you know, not do the show and just sleep in a little bit, you know, and we'll do some content later in the day. But what do you got for us today, Playboy?
You know, you might not want to do it on Monday, but everybody in your chat's praying that you will. Because they all love to listen to you. So you miss
Got you.
Monday, and it's going to be like people are going to be jonesing by Tuesday, man. You'll be like an alcoholic without drinking for a day. You bring
I
the
appreciate
truth,
that,
though,
man.
brother. You know, we were talking about this the other day about how to get control of what's going on with all our kids and like all these colleges and stuff. You know, back when I was growing up, every summer my dad took us to work, and we had to work on the job with my father, you know, which at the time I hated it. But as I grew up, I learned that I was being given a skill to further my life and to actually do something productive. Instead of just being out playing on my bike all summer or at the swimming pool, I was out pounding nails, cutting studs, stacking, you know, wood for the walls, and helping lay out the 2x4s on the floor so they could be nailed together. You know, we don't take the time to teach these kids any kind of trade. I mean, even if it's just having them go out and get a lawn mowing job. Shoot, I had my own business at 8 years old mowing lawns.
Hey, these kids don't have that type of hustle. Not in this day and age. They don't have that kind of hustle in this day and age. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, we don't inspire them to go out and do something. It's too easy to shut them up by handing them a 20. And then we wonder why they just expect the government and everybody else to just give them
just do something for them. Yeah, that's the one thing that I really was big on. You know, I wanted my kids to get, as soon as they were old enough to get a job, I wanted them to get jobs. Not because we needed the money, but for the reasons that you just described. I want them to learn some responsibility. I want them to learn what it feels like, to be to work on time, to be held accountable, you know, for their actions.
Get your ass out
what
of bed.
to do when you get some money. What do you do with that money? And then you start making some decisions, because they used to come to me and ask me, and now I'm like, you got your own money. And they're like, Dad, I don't want it that bad. I'm saving my money.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like,
so
going if it's my money,
all that soda pop's not
exactly. I'm like, if it's my money, it's like, do whatever with Dad's money. But with your money, you're like, nah, I'm gonna hold on to mine.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I want that new video game. I'm gonna hold on to my money. You know. And it's sad because it's, as much as we want to blame it on society, it's not society. It's the way we, the parent, are raising them. I mean, when you hand them that 20, you're giving them the free ticket to say, hey, I don't need to work. I just need to go down to the corner with a sign that says, homeless, need help, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why, you know, I was big on that. And I'm still big onto it. Like when I talk to like my friends who have kids that are a little younger than me, I was the friend that started early. So, and now like my friends, they have younger kids and they're looking at me like, man, they're kind of jealous because, you know, my kids are adults at this point. But I'm like, man, when y'all were hanging out and y'all were calling me like, hey, we're going to go hit the club. You want to roll with us? I'm like, man, I need a day or two notice. You can't just call me on Friday and say we going out nowhere. You got to call me on Monday so I can prepare. You know, I can't just be out like that. And now, you know, things are kind of reversed. The roles are reversed. But I will say this, when my kids got to an age where they could work, you know, I would have them. Now, we always had chores and things of that nature around the house. There's things that have to be done at home. But I think teaching the kids, you know, to either get a job or to volunteer, and we've done that as well, I think that is important, man. It's extremely important.
It's very important because, I mean, even just look at the homeless, okay? While I was filing to get my disability and I couldn't work anymore, I went out and started delivering phone books. I found a guy that traveled around the United States. We did everything from Texas to Nebraska to California, Washington, and everything in between. I did that for 12 years before I got my disability. While I was it took me 12 years to get my disability.
Goodness.
Well,
Wow.
in that process, I'd be driving around cities and stuff and see these homeless people sitting on the corner with a sign that said, you know, homeless, need help. And so I'd pull up and I'd be like, hey man, jump in. You know, I'll pay you, you know, $10 an hour to come help me deliver phone books. They would
They don't want
laugh
that.
at me.
Yeah, they don't want
And they
that.
would mock me. They'd be like, I ain't doing that. I'm like, dude, all you got to do is, I've got all the phone books bagged. All you got to do is grab a handful of bags and start walking down the street, putting them on people's porches. I'll pay you $10 an hour.
Yeah.
No, get out of here. No. And it's like, man.
Unfortunately, you have a lot of people, they want the money, they don't want to work. And that actually goes against the word of God. A man that doesn't work doesn't deserve to eat.
The Lord says to work all the days of your life.
Mm-hmm. That's our curse.
You know?
As men,
like,
that's our curse.
People just, they don't know what a good day of sweating your ass off, swinging a hammer can build. It builds that, what's the word I'm looking for? It builds up your temperament or whatever for being able to handle things like that. I mean, people are too weak anymore. They're just, and taking all the sugars and all these dyes and stuff out of our food, hopefully that's going to help with people's attitudes, because I truly believe what you eat affects your attitude, affects your energy.
Yeah, it affects your
affects
mood.
your
Yeah, you're
drive.
absolutely right. Yeah, you're right.
And we've
You're
been
absolutely
being
right.
poisoned for years and years and years. So it's just sad. Well, brother, I'll let you get back to some other people, but I just thought I'd come in and rattle your chain for a minute.
I appreciate it, man.
And it
Thank you
is
very
sad
much.
about those two young people. They were just planning to get engaged and get married. And it's just, these people's minds are warped. And the thing is he wasn't on drugs or anything.
It wasn't
like,
anything wrong with him as far as he was just radicalized.
Yeah, he was just radicalized by our dang colleges. What are we going to do? I mean, should we just completely, like with Harvard, cut off all their money? No more visas for them to bring students over from radicalized states. And I mean, I don't know what we need to do to actually push this ball down the road to start getting control of helping these kids, but we have got to do something.
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree. But I appreciate you pulling up as always, Playboy Billy. Thank you very much, my brother. Hope you enjoy the weekend.
You too, brother.
And I'll take your request. I'll take it into advisement. We may end up doing a show on Monday morning. Even if it's not a super long show.
Well, I wouldn't blame
we may
you
do
for
something.
taking
And
it off.
I think Zephyr had mentioned something as well, you know, about doing something, just talking about Memorial Day. And maybe we can do something like that. Just talk about the history of Memorial Day.
Hit a birdie for me, brother.
And things of that nature. Hey, that's the plan. Hey, birdies are always good. Thanks, Playboy Billy. Take care, man.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks, man. You do the same. All right, let me get my guy Quincy up in here. Opportunity to get a face with the name. Y'all make sure y'all show Playboy Billy some love, man. What's going on, Quincy? What's up, brother? How you doing today?
Morning, Wise. How you doing?
Man, I am outstanding, man. I'm blessed as always. It's fine. It's good to finally get a face with the name. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, good to see you.
You know, it's crazy because I get to see, you guys see me all the time, but when this happens, I get a chance, to put, faces with the names that I see in the chat, man. So thank you very much, man. I appreciate you supporting me, man. Thank you.
No problem, brother. I wanted to ask everybody in the chat about going to the United States birthday party next year.
I'm definitely interested in doing that. I got a plan around it. I got a plan to do it, but I want to go. I definitely want to go and participate in the festivities. I know there's going to be things, I think, in a multitude of places around the, around the country. It's not just one place. But what are your thoughts on it? Is that something that you plan on attending?
Yeah, I do plan on attending. I was hearing rumor about a month ago that it's going to be more like you remember the old World Fair? It was going to be something like that, just United States driven. But I'm going for the food. I'm not gonna lie, going for the food. But yeah, if we could do an ARP get together at something like that, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah, I like that. I like that idea. I definitely like that idea. Okay, that's something that we can, as we get a little closer, and once more details kind of come out, about it, where it is, where it'll be at, or what the locations will be. I like the idea, of doing an ARP get together. I definitely like that idea, and I'd enjoy meeting all of you guys, man. I tell people all the time, when people see me, out in the streets, man, I'm a regular dude, so don't hesitate to come up and reach out, say what's up. It's okay.
Yes, sir.
But that's awesome, man.
I just want everybody to keep that in mind. Put it in your back pocket now. I would
absolutely
love to meet everybody. It's more of a fellowship thing, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we just, hang out at the fair, eat great food. And
I could probably tie in a couple of other channels.
I'm gonna tell you that right now. But yeah.
You said Texas is gonna knock it out the barbecue?
Yes, sir.
I would agree with that. You get no argument from me there. Some of the best barbecue that I have had, it's been in Texas. Although I think Memphis is very, very close. The dry rub barbecue in Memphis is very, very close. I'm a big fan.
Okay, yeah. For me, it's the Carolina style. That's the second best, in my opinion, with the mustard.
Oh, really? You like the vinegar stuff? You like the vinaigrette taste?
Yes, I like the little thing. Yep.
I'm not opposed to any barbecue. I'm not opposed to any barbecue, and I do have folks that are in the Carolinas. And the thing is, for people that don't know, Carolina, South and North Carolina, two totally different places. North Carolina is really what they consider "quote unquote" Carolina barbecue is really North Carolina barbecue that has that vinaigrette taste. South Carolina barbecue, it is good, but they're not really on the vinegary side of things. That's not really their forte. But I like barbecue of all types. But if I had to kind of rank them, I'd probably go Texas, Memphis, Kansas City. Is kind of how I would kind of rank them. I like my barbecue sauce, spicy with some heat, with a nice kick to it, and with a little bit of sweetness, with a little sweetness to it. You know what I'm saying?
That sweet heat.
Yeah, the sweet heat. That's kind of how I like it. And then I like the dry rub, and I don't need, it's just a good seasoning and a good barbecue, whether it's smoked or not. I actually prefer smoked. But I grew up down south, and even right now, although where my parents live at, they live in a really nice neighborhood, but my pop still has one of those old school drums, the big metal drums that they turn and they cut and they make them into smokers. My pop still got one of those, and he's still using that thing to this day. So I'm a big fan of smokers, big fan. But Texas got it going on with. Okay. But Texas definitely got it going on when it comes to the barbecue and the brisket. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Now, my question to you, Quincy, are you a grill master?
I used to compete when I got out of hooping. When I retired a few years ago, I needed something to, cause still competitive. So I started competing in barbecues down here.
Okay.
Here, hold on.
What? Okay. Oh, look
You
at
see
him.
that,
All right
Wise?
now. Yeah. Okay. I
So
see.
I do know a little bit about what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you do. What's your what would you consider your signature?
I'm best at chicken.
Okay.
Doing the half chickens.
Okay. Oh man,
Pretty
I love
good at
that.
brisket. We took third with a brisket a few years
Okay.
back. But yeah, my chicken. I've won a few things with chicken. And then pork
Okay.
butts. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy.
Oh, well, barbecue don't have to be fancy.
But
It just need to be good.
exactly. But anyway, like I said, that's all I wanted to drop, for you guys.
Got
Yeah.
you. All right, but hey, Quincy, man, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you supporting the channel and appreciate you pulling up today, man. It's awesome. Great to always
No
get
problem.
a daggone face with the name. I see you in the chat all the time, so it's good. Now I know who I'm talking to now. Appreciate you, brother.
You have a great weekend.
Man, thanks, man. You do the same. Take care. All right, let's pull up Ebony Ware. Shout out to Quincy pulling up. And Quincy, for real he about that barbecue life. Hey, you know when somebody got the daggone smoker and they got the barbecue pit on the trailer, you know they real. There ain't no propane, nothing. You know what I'm saying? Propane's the easy route. I don't even know if you call propane. Is that really barbecuing? If you're on the propane, is that really barbecuing? I don't think so. Let me pull up Ebony. Hey, Ebony, how you doing today?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Let us know where
Okay,
you calling in from.
in Northern California, and this is Starseed earlier in the chat.
Oh, Starseed. Okay. All right. Hey, how you
Okay,
doing?
yes, thank you. Um, I'm happy I called you. Love your show, and I won't be before you too long. But
Okay.
I did want to comment on a couple of things. So, one, I watched your show about that law or whatever was going on in this legislation about the leniency on the intercourse with the 16 and 17-year-olds. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. That was
And you
I
showed
guess
the
that at this point now,
video.
it was a couple of weeks back, a couple months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it was you showed the video though, and the guy was on there or whatever, and he was like, we got to protect this and that. Yeah, so the next day I looked him up and I went down there and called the office.
Oh yeah? Awesome.
I told them they was making California look bad. I don't know what the heck they got going on. Yes, I did, sir. So we have your back. But in addition, I wanted to go ahead and say that and back you up when you said like if you're a black conservative, like you can probably get jumped or something. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, seriously. And I don't understand it because I thought we were able to have political freedom here. But it's like if you're not on a certain side or whatever, and it's not even that I agree with everything that the president or his cabinet does, but it's like I'm coming at it from a patriotic perspective. And it kind of
Mm-hmm.
sucks. And it's just like, okay, well, I guess you can't really talk about it because you don't want to become, a target. So I just wanted to highlight
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Now I got a question to ask you, Starseed. Who is there anybody on the planet that you agree with 100%?
No, no, maybe a dolphin, but that's not a person.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you feel me?
That's why,
Like,
when people always say, well, I don't agree with everything. I'm like, I'm married. I've been married, for a long time and I love my wife, but we don't always see eye to eye on everything either. You know what I'm saying? And I sleep with this person. You know what I'm saying? Like,
wow.
you're not going to agree with everybody. I mean, I have friends that have been friends for 20 plus years, 10 plus years. We don't always see eye to eye on everything. That don't mean we hate each other. You
Like,
know what I'm
no,
saying? Like
it's
a difference
scary,
of
Mr.
opinion is
Wise.
okay.
It's scary. It's like, is it something that I don't know? Like, why is everyone so like angry? I don't know. And then they're
Yeah.
like, nobody likes them. Nobody likes them. And I'm like, well, according to the polls, I stayed up that night. I remember a big percentage of the country, it was a kind of sweep. So
exactly.
well, the things that are being implemented was voted on and we wanted, and we didn't want our citizens out on the streets for, it felt like a soft invasion to me. I don't know if I can
Yeah.
say that on
Oh,
here, but
yeah, you can say that. Well, and you're out there in California, so I'm sure you're seeing it. Like where I live at, where I live at here in Maryland, yes, you can tell, like, yes, there's been illegal immigrants that have moved here. They're here. They're not out in the open, and it's not as I guess it's not as overt as it is maybe in some other places, out there. Although we do see it, especially when the school buses are around, because there's a lot of them that are in schools and stuff like that. But
can I just be transparent for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
In addition, because of the subsidies and the things that they were given, it's like it's also like a superiority complex. When some of these
Explain
things
that. Elaborate on that a little bit.
Okay, well, they're coming over here fresh, and then they're getting money monthly, right? And they're getting housing monthly, right? And they're able to have these cars, and they're able to get these food stamps, and they're able to come over here and literally live the American dream. When our average people are struggling, and we have to sit back and watch that, and then they look down on us like we're not doing anything, but everything's being handed to them, homes and different things, especially in California. I don't know if they passed that law, but they were trying to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I definitely understand, where you're coming from. I think it has a lot of people, up in arms, about it. But what do you say to, people? There was a video that I did it was probably a year ago at this point. There were some folks, they were down in Nashville, and they had just moved to Nashville from California, and they were talking about how they were okay with illegal immigrants getting, money for housing, or they're starting businesses and they're giving them money for that, and they were okay with it.
Some of them, right? I have
What do you say to those people?
Yeah, some of it's fine. I don't think it's that, like, we're California, we're mixed out here. And I even have, a neighbor that went through some horrible things with his girls, and I'm happy that his kids are able to have a good life. It's in droves. It's how it was coming in. It wasn't just like the normal, even people were like, well, we've always had this and that. Yeah, but I was noticing an influx. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, influx. Yeah.
Yes.
Massive influx.
Massive influx. And it was making me very uncomfortable about the state of the country. So again, I was coming at it from a patriotic perspective, not, if things were aligning with my morals and goals, protect the children, protect the sovereignty, get everybody out our back pockets kind of thing, Yeah, all that money that was given out and those was fine, and I was just clutching my pearls. I mean, I literally had to back off. I was on it every single day, every board meeting, anything that was going on. I'm like, what was going on? Like, for what? And who? Wise, let me get off of here.
All righty. Don't get yourself in no trouble. But thank you very much, Starseed, for pulling up. Appreciate you.
Yes,
Appreciate you supporting the channel as well.
Praying for my daughters too. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you saying that. That was real respectable. Love and light, everyone.
Okay. All righty. Thank you. Take care. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you. Likewise.
Bye. Oh, that was awesome. Shout out to Starseed pulling up today, man. That was awesome. If you haven't done so, man, y'all make sure y'all hit that like button for me. Make sure y'all hit that like button for me. And shout out to those that have pulled up today. Dion, we are going to do a show on Monday. And maybe we'll have some people join. We'll have some folks join today. So I may reach out to you, see if it's something that you'd be interested in doing. I know you were talking about going live on your own channel. We got Ses or Espa Ses. Let me pull him up here. But if you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit that like button for me. Make sure y'all do that. Let me pull up my guy. What's going on, brother? How you doing today?
What's going on? Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
I just
now. How do I say it? Did I say your name right? Espaces. Is that how that goes?
No, it's spaces.
Oh, it's just spaces. Okay, I'm sitting there. Okay, because you got the underscores. Okay, so spaces. I know it now. Got you. What do you have for us, brother?
So I had a question. So, as far as first of all, you're doing great work.
Thank you.
I'm finally found another channel that I can watch on a consistent basis. So I appreciate that. But as far as the 49 or 50 Africana refugees or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm torn because yesterday you were talking about the hypocrisy from the left and how they brought in 10 millions or allegedly tens of millions of illegal immigrants into America, and then now Trump is bringing in this 50 people. If you ask me, it's hypocrisy on both sides. The reason why I say so is because, and maybe you can educate me on this because I don't know, what dealings do we have to do with those people as Americans when they're African citizens, from what I'm understanding?
I don't necessarily think that we have any dealings as far as, I mean, obviously they're not American citizens. Obviously that's not the case. And they don't have any lineage from here to America. So, and I understand your sentiment because one of my friends, he had said the same thing, that he understands the plight, but he's also torn as well. But I will say this, here in America, I mean, we've always accepted refugees. We've always done that. They just need to be vetted. And I don't think most people are against legal immigration. I would think that we probably poll most people in this country and they would tell you that, hey, they're 100% in lockstep with legal with legal immigration. I'm okay. I'm personally actually okay with legal immigration with those that are going to come in and be productive citizens. But I think where a lot of people are up in arms was over the previous 4 years, you've had basically just a wide open door, open, allowed people to come over here unvetted. And, some people say it was, 10 to 11. Others say it was, 20, 21 million. And they're trying to get people out that are, essentially going to be drains on society. Now, when you hear what happened, what was that? Was that Wednesday, I believe, when the South African president came up, Ramaphosa, when he came up, and they showed the videos and they talked about this, he didn't necessarily refute what was happening. He tried to say that it wasn't happening until after the video showed. And then after that, he didn't really refute it. Now they were just upset that it was even brought up.
Right, exactly.
And I get it. When I heard about it myself, I was a little torn, myself. And my stance on it was with the media. You're either with immigration or you're not with immigration. Which one is it? Which one is it? You know what I'm saying? When it comes to the media. And I think most people would be okay with it as long as it's legal and these people are being vetted properly. And I think that's the biggest issue there. But,
Now another concern I had is what Starcy was just saying, right? So you Trump. Now I'm conservative, by the way. I'm full on conservative, not Republican. I'm conservative. So and even more also with what Starcy was just saying, I'm patriotic. I'm an American. If you want to ask my political belief, so. Now, if I'm not mistaken, he's making all of these provisions available to these 50 people. In what instance are you making those same provisions available to American people who are already struggling?
Now, when you say provisions, expound on that a little bit.
Well, housing, food, basically all of the same provisions were given to the illegal immigrants. Now, Trump, is, from what I've heard, is giving those same living stipends to these same people.
Okay. I haven't did a whole lot of digging into what they will get. I'd be interested to hear, how long. I mean, if someone comes over historically, more or less, I'll say when someone comes over as a refugee, they typically do get a helping hand in the country. Typically, that has been the case historically, that they get some form of help. Typically, there is a timeline on it. And normally these folks, because it's a process to get a work visa and things of that nature. So when they come over as refugees, they don't just immediately give them work visas and stuff like that. But I would assume that there will be a time limit on it. And the expectation is that these people will be able to come in and stand on their own 2 feet, within a year or so. And here in America, I don't even think people are that enraged about the Americans that do receive assistance, whether it's, Section 8 or food stamps. It's not that they receive it. It's the fact that they depend on it for a long time.
I'm 1,000% agreement with that.
If people got on the system and they were only there for enough to get on their feet 2 years, and I'm one of those kind of people that I'm okay with that. I know people go through things. People, some people start off at the bottom. I understand that. But you can't start off there, get on the system, and just want to stay there. You should be trying to work your way off of that. Now, my hopes is, even with these people and anybody else that comes over here, in that refugee status, that the plan isn't to forever live on the system. And that, once they get a work visa, they're going to get out here and try to go get a job and go, take care of their families.
Yeah, and I'm in everything you just said. I'm totally in agreement with. I just torn for myself to call what Trump did hypocrisy, or if it's just being I guess you could say what they call him, what he calls himself, a nice guy. Because yes, if you ask me, I would rather 50 people versus 10, 20 million. But at the same time, we were, against all of the illegal, people skipping the line to becoming an American citizen. And it sounded like Trump is in the process of doing the same thing with these people so far.
Got you. So and I understand that. And I think a lot of people have and feel the same exact way. And I think that's the beautiful thing about being a conservative, whether you're an independent conservative or, someone that would consider themselves a Republican conservative or a MAGA conservative. However you want to look at it. I think that's the beautiful thing about this side of things is that we can critique. You don't have to, be in lockstep. I think Ebony or Starseed, what she said, and what I was talking about, I was like, who agrees with 100% of anybody's beliefs? You know absolutely. What I'm saying? Like, and the beautiful thing about this side of things is that when you see something that you don't think, doesn't pass the smell test or don't sound right to you, you can say it, and you're not going to have 1,000 people jump on your head and be like, man, you got to get on board or try to kick you out or try to ostracize you. You're not going to get that. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the difference between, this side of things and the other side, where if you consider yourself, I guess a leftist, a liberal, or whatever the case may be, there is no room for dissent. There is no room to question whatever it is that their agenda is. And I think that's the biggest issue there. So your sentiment, your apprehension, I don't have a problem with it, and I think a lot of folks, may feel the same exact way. But they also understand when I look at what happens to refugees historically in this country, regardless of whatever the president is, we would typically take care of people in that way if we consider themselves to be refugees and their lives have been in danger. You know what I'm saying? So we lost Spaces, but I'm glad I got that because I always was calling him Espaces, but now I got it. It's Spaces. So shout out to him and shout out to Aaron with the $5 super chat. He says, Wise, that's exactly why nobody can tell me nothing about reparations after the illegals. And I understand that. And I think that's a lot of the sentiment that a lot of people had, that are pro reparations. Now, Aaron, I do have a question for you. What would you say to someone that would tell you that, through some of the other acts out there, that one, reparations was given, and if there is still a debt that needs to be paid, that debt needs to be paid by the Democrat Party because it was their party that stifled the, the movement, of those reparations when it came to, the Homestead Act, that happened, the Homestead Act, that allowed people to go out, to Oklahoma and some of these other places out west to develop. They each would have received 100 acres of land. That is something that happened. What would you say to the people that say, hey, y'all don't really deserve reparations due to the fact there was a lot of people that instead of freedom, they decided to go back to their plantations? And then what would you say to those who actually received land during that time frame only to have it taken by those that would be considered of the Democrat Party? You know what I'm saying? So there are some questions right there, when people go and say, hey, well, there was something given, through the Homestead Act. And the people that are not familiar with the Homestead Act, do some research on the Homestead Act. And there are a plethora of people that decided not to take advantage of what was offered. Shout out to Crystal from Crystal Beyond Label. It says with the $5 super chat, reparations is the carrot teasing the horse, keeps black people in the hamster wheel. Yeah, and I agree. I do definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And the other thing is, I've said this as well. It only takes about 2 generations to flip a race, and there could be a family, of white Americans out there that could, say that, hey, I have a great grandparent who was a slave. And if y'all giving reparations, y'all got to give it to our family because we have a family member that is a descendant from slavery. I mean, I don't know if you guys had a chance to see the video, but there was a video out there of LeVar Burton who found out that his great grandfather was a member of the Confederate Army. Sonny Holston, she finds out that her great grandparents were actually, owners of slaves, and they owned one of the largest plantations in Puerto Rico. So my argument the other day, though, it really wasn't for or against. It was really about the manipulation of the Democrat Party when it comes to reparations and how they use it to manipulate, black people. And like LJ Taylor said it was more like the carrot teasing the donkeys, only donkeys out here waiting. Yeah. Because, the reality of it is not going to happen. But April Chapman did a video. I don't know exactly when it came out, but I got a chance to watch it yesterday. And she was talking about, reparations. And she went down the list, of the Homestead Act and some of the, I think they were calling it the Southern State Homestead Act. And you also had people that decided not to fight. They got land, but decided not to fight for their land. There's a lot of that, so. Shout out to Spaces with the $5 super chat. He says, couldn't have my camera on because I'm moving around. But thanks for having me up, OG. Looking forward to hearing your opinions on future subjects, man. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate you pulling up this morning as well. Thank you very much. But, it's just one of those things, where if you go back and you like really look at the history, of it, when you're thinking about the Homestead Act and you think about the Southern State Homestead Act that happened, you think about the folks that decided to go back to plantations because, they were, maybe some fear, afraid. When you had folks that decided not to fight, for, their lands and things of that nature, that's a question. That is a question mark. And then you also got to ask, what about the descendants of the 300,000 freedmen or free black people, that were there on the 1830 census, and they have no lineage to slavery, and that was 300,000 people during the 1830 census. There were black people, and then so there's some questions. You said, really? April Chapman is hateful? Oh my goodness. Did you watch? I want to know, Aaron, did you watch her video, on reparation? Did you get a chance to see it? What are your thoughts on, the Homestead Act? What are your thoughts on those that decided not to, stand up and fight, for their land at that time frame? I disagree, with your statement, on April Chapman. I disagree. Definitely disagree with that. I like April, and I think she keeps it real. And I don't necessarily think, that she hides, behind the word. I don't think you need to hide behind the word. You know what I'm saying? If you are someone that believes that the word is the truth, there's no need to hide behind it. You know what I'm saying? The word is the word. But I liked her argument. I liked her argument against it. It was some of the arguments that I've had in the past. But I liked her argument. I hadn't heard anybody necessarily refute it yet, though. And Coco, you could say that about every land mass on Earth. Every land mass on Earth was once occupied by someone else in the past. And I mean, when you think about Genghis Khan and you think about the Persian Empire and you think about the Roman Empire and you think about all these different empires out there, I mean, that's what people do. They take over through a fight, through a war, and they take over land. That's what happens. I mean, that's what was going on here. That's what was going on here, amongst the Native Americans fighting amongst each other. I mean, that's just human. That's just mankind. Everything's been conquered once, twice, some cases 3 or 4 times. It's all good. But I do appreciate you guys pulling up this morning, man. As always, I definitely appreciate those that support the channel financially and those that keep the chat moving. All my ARP family members and just, everybody that comes in and supports the channel, just by checking in and hanging out with us. I definitely appreciate that. I hope you guys enjoy the weekend. Stay safe out there. For those of you guys that like to have fun, don't overdo it. Don't go too hard. Don't go too hard. But we'll be back at this thing next week. Obviously, we'll have some content that will come out, over the weekend. But we'll be back at it live on Monday. We will do a show on Monday, and we'll probably do a call in as well on Monday, and we'll go there and do that. But appreciate you guys pulling up, man. I'm gonna go play some golf tomorrow. Definitely looking forward to that. And it's been so rainy and stuff, man. I hadn't been able to get out, man. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But I appreciate you all. Enjoy the weekend. Stay safe out there. Because you know how it goes, these Memorial weekends, especially if you're out in Chicago, if you're in Baltimore City, you're in the city out in St. Louis, if you're out in Memphis, please be safe. Memorial weekends can sometimes be, one of the most deadliest weekends, unfortunately. But man, you guys, stay safe. Stay safe out there, man. All right. So we'll catch up with you guys next week, Monday morning, Lord willing. Keep God first, stay prayed up, and we'll see you guys, man. Y'all take care.
Vibes so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp,